Welcome back, fellow explorers of pulp fiction and lost legends. Here at Nuevo Investigations, we explore and analyze the iconic characters from yesteryear, from classic pulp heroes to sci-fi legends and beyond. We peel back the layers of nostalgia and reveal the magic behind the art. If you haven't already, please check out our latest investigation on the 80s cult classic, Zot. Link is in the description. Doc Savage first burst onto the scene straight out of the golden age of pulp fiction. His vast intelligence, peak physical conditioning, and mastery of various sciences made him a near-mythic figure who fought to rid the world of evil. He could outthink Sherlock Holmes and outfight Tarzan, all while keeping his shirt strategically ripped in the most dramatic way possible. His adventures first showcased in Street and Smith's pulp magazines, which were known for their fast-paced, action-oriented content printed on low-cost wood pulp paper, hence the name Pulp. After the runaway success of The Shadow, they decided it was time to whip up a hero that could be as popular as their shadow figure, but with a family-friendly style that even Grandma would approve of. Enter the Doc, making his grand debut in the tale The Man of Bronze, which hit the shelves March 1933. There were over 180 monthly stories published by Smith & Street between Doc's 1933 debut and the series' end in 1949, detailing Doc's thrilling battles against mad scientists, crime lords, and doomsday devices. His exploits were also transformed into Golden Age comic books and radio series. In the 1960s, he experienced a revival when Bantam Books reprinted all of the original stories in paperback. That's where I first found him. A Doc Savage film was released in 1975, and several comic book series have been created since the 1970s and on until the present day by publishers such as DC, Marvel, Millennium, Dark Horse, and Dynamite Entertainment. In every era, we create heroes that embody the ideals we wish to see in the world. Some heroes are born from tragedy, some from destiny, while others, like Doc Savage, are forged through sheer willpower and discipline. But if there's one phrase that perfectly captures Clark Savage Jr., it's this: a man for all seasons. Not just a fearless adventurer, not just a brilliant scientist, not just a champion of justice. Doc Savage was all of these things at once. He was created to be a hero for any situation, any crisis, any era. And that's exactly what makes him timeless. But how does he truly embody this idea? Let's break it down. So what does it mean to be a man for all seasons? Well, they need to be adaptable. They excel in any situation, whether it's a battlefield, a courtroom, or a laboratory. They need to stay composed under pressure. No matter the crisis, they remain calm, collected, and in control. They need to be highly competent. They don't just talk the talk. They've mastered multiple skills and disciplines. And they need to be guided by an unshakable moral compass. They always choose the right path, even when it's difficult. Mostly, I think they need to be respected and trusted. They inspire confidence in those around them, acting as a leader in times of uncertainty. I think Doc Savage checks every one of these boxes, and then some. Doc Savage isn't just good at one thing, he's good at everything. He's a brilliant scientist, master of multiple scientific disciplines. He's a fearless adventurer. He's explored every corner of the world. He's an expert detective. He solves complex mysteries before breakfast. He's a master at martial arts. He can take on any foe and walk away untouched. He's a polyglot, which means he speaks multiple languages fluently. He has a photographic memory. He never forgets anything, ever. And he's actually a doctor, a certified neurosurgeon capable of saving or altering minds. We'll talk more about that later. Basically, Doc Savage was Batman about 6 years before Batman existed, except, without the brooding, the capes, or the emotional baggage. Instead, he's driven purely by logic, self-discipline, and an unwavering sense of justice. Pretty cool. The key trait of a man for all seasons isn't just competence, it's character. Doc Savage follows his conscience, no matter what. He never takes shortcuts. He acts honorably even when others choose corruption or convenience. This made him a beacon of stability in a world rocked by the Great Depression and the rise of fascism. He wasn't just a hero, he was an idealized leader designed to show people what true justice, discipline, and intellect could achieve. Unlike other heroes, Doc Savage didn't need any superhuman abilities to be legendary. No radioactive spiders, no alien origins, no magic artifacts. He trained himself to perfection from childhood. He wasn't gifted with power, he built it. He wasn't born into greatness, he earned it. And that makes him the ultimate man for all seasons, because his abilities aren't just natural talents, they're proof of his lifelong dedication to self-improvement. Food for thought. Doc's a bigger Boy Scout than any of the superheroes he inspired, Superman included. If there's one thing that truly defines Doc Savage, it's his code of honor. This pledge sums up the hero's mission and serves as an inspirational oath for all adventurers at heart. Here's Ron Eli's version of the oath from the 1975 Doc Savage film. Let's take a listen.
Let us strive every moment of our lives to make ourselves better and better to the best of our ability, so that all may profit by it. Let us think of the right and lend our assistance to all who may need it, with no regard for anything but justice. Let us take what comes with a smile, without loss of courage. Let us be considerate of our country, our fellow citizens, and our associates in everything we say and do. Let us do right to all, and wrong no man.
Honestly, it's not a bad life philosophy. And this wasn't just Pulp era fluff. This oath is what set Doc apart. He wasn't just about beating bad guys. He was about bettering himself and the world around him. When Street and Smith was on the hunt for a brand new adventure hero, Clark Gable's Red Dust was smashing box office records like a champ. With everyone swooning over the dashing actor, the publishers kind of got the idea, who better to model our hero after than the current king of Hollywood? They even told their cover artists to crank up the Gable factor and make Doc look like the leading man. Originally, this heroic hunk had a sun-kissed golden bronze complexion, hair that shimmered like a sunset, and eyes sprinkled with gold. No wonder they dubbed him the Man of Bronze. In the groovy cover art of the late 1960s, on the paperback reprints, our hero underwent a makeover, strutting around like a superhuman bronze giant, sporting a signature ripped shirt and a swoon-worthy Widow's Peak crew cut. A hairstyle popularized by America's first astronauts, the Mercury 7, as these were the American heroes of the time. The talented artist James Bama whipped up this fresh look inspired by none other than Steve Holland, a former fashion model who rocked the role of Flash Gordon in the 1950s TV series. And voila, that's how we usually see Doc Savage portrayed even today. Thanks to an endless stream of treasure flowing from a Central American mine gifted by Mayan descendants, Doc Savage was rolling in dough, giving him the freedom to live his best life. We're talking about building a jaw-dropping fortress of solitude and snagging a sweet pad on the 86th floor of a skyscraper that gives Doc's headquarters Empire State vibes. He's got a shiny fleet of cars, trucks, planes, and boats all tucked away in a secret hangar under the Hudson River, cleverly disguised as the Hidalgo Trading Company. And to zip between his hangar and his swanky offices, Doc crafted a wild underground pneumatic tube system he affectionately calls the Flea Run. Doc is living large. Being the brainiac inventor that he is, Doc Savage has turned his treasure trove into a playground of futuristic toys for his wild escapades. While some of Doc's gizmos were pure sci-fi dreams, a bunch of his so-called futuristic gadgets were actually real inventions or concepts that engineers were scrambling to create in the 1930s. The series showcased a wild array of tech, from flying wings to answering machines, television before there was television, two-way wrist radios like Dick Tracy, night vision goggles, gas grenades, and even an electromagnetic railgun. His go-to gear was an armored utility vest full of crime-fighting gadgets and his trusty super machine pistol. This bad boy could shoot a spray of your standard lead, but it also had a smorgasbord of ammo options. Incendiary bullets that explode on impact and unleash a fiery chaos. High explosive rounds that could smash obstacles to smithereens, and his quirky mercy bullets that gently sent villains into sleepy time. Believe it or not, a lot of his wild tech from his pulp adventures would eventually leap off the page and into reality. As we've mentioned, Doc in Doc Savage stands for doctor. He really is a doctor. And not just any doctor, a neurosurgeon. So while Batman is out punching criminals, Doc was studying their brains. Which brings us to one of the strangest and most controversial parts of his mythos, the crime college. Is it a heroic rehabilitation or an ethical nightmare? Instead of just locking up villains, Doc Savage had a very unique solution. He would send his criminals that he captured to a secret crime college of experimental brain surgery. His idea was to erase their criminal tendencies and reprogram them as productive citizens. So instead of a slap on the wrist or a jail sentence, you might get an involuntary lobotomy. So was Doc ahead of his time in neuroscience, or was he running a dystopian Arkham Asylum? Either way, it shows just how much he believed in reforming society, even if his methods were, well, questionable at best. Long before superhero squads became popular, Doc assembled the Fabulous Five, a group of specialists dedicated to combating crime and exposing global conspiracies. These were not your typical individuals. Every member possessed a distinct expertise, ranging from chemistry to law to engineering. Together, they formed a formidable force, a collective of remarkable warriors on an unwavering mission to deliver justice and rectify wrongs worldwide. Armed with intelligence, strength, and an unwavering determination, they confronted evil directly, demonstrating that true heroism stems from bravery, teamwork, and a genuine commitment to improving the world. In the grand saga of sci-fi and fantasy magazines of the Pulp era, women usually got pigeonholed into one of two roles: the classic damsels in distress, or the sneaky femme fatales, ready to turn our heroes into mush. But the fabulous Patricia Pat Savage, Doc's own cousin, struts onto the scene as one of the rare exceptions to this tired trope. First appearing in the novel Brand of the Werewolf in 1934, Pat sported the same bronze glow and golden peepers as Doc, and was always ready to join the action. She was a whirlwind of sass and charm, rocking scandalous amounts of cleavage while showing off her mind-blowing skills as a sharpshooter, pilot, and karate queen. Throughout his tenure as America's greatest adventurer, Doc Savage battled everything from run-of-the-mill criminal organizations to over-the-top maniacs. But of all those, the greatest enemy that he ever had was the twisted mastermind, John Sunlight. Sunlight is the only villain to appear in more than one issue of the Doc Savage pulps, first appearing in Fortress of Solitude in October of 1938, and then returning in The Devil Genghis from December of the same year. Like Doc, John Sunlight is abnormally strong, intelligent, and an idealist who wants to save the planet. The big difference is that Sunlight seeks to combat world suffering via world domination. If that sounds a little bit like Doctor Doom, it might be because Stan Lee and Jack Kirby allegedly took direct inspiration from John Sunlight's tragic backstory, genius-level intellect, and world-conquering ambitions to help shape one of Marvel's greatest supervillains. It's long been debated if Doc would be considered the world's first superhero. Doc definitely helped mold the superhero vibe, but let's not forget there were a few other tough guys with super skills who flew onto the scene before the Man of Bronze. John Carter of Mars from 1917, Hugo Danner from the 1930 novel Gladiator, and Japan's Golden Bat from 1931 are all contenders for the title of world's first superhero. But Doc's definitely in the running. We'll cover some of those other guys in future Retro Nuevo Investigations. One thing that's certain is Doc Savage totally built the superhero blueprint for many of today's heroes. Let's break down how. Superman from 1938. The Man of Bronze was literally called a Superman in his original pulp advertisements. Doc's secret Arctic hideout was literally called the Fortress of Solitude, a name later borrowed by a certain Man of Steel. They both have the name Clark, which is a nod to Clark Gable. Doc's moral code is also reflected in The Last Son of Krypton. Batman first hit the scene in 1939, and like Doc, Batman is a wealthy genius operating from a hidden headquarters with a team of specialists. Both men train their minds and bodies to near perfection, and even the gadget-based utility belt can be traced back to Savage's utility vest full of crime-fighting inventions. The Challengers of the Unknown from 1957 and the Fantastic Four from 1961. Jack Kirby's science-based superhero teams were heavily influenced by the Fabulous Five, especially their dynamic of unique specialists tackling world-threatening dangers. Buckaroo Banzai from 1984 with his Hong Kong Cavaliers, and Tom Strong from 1999 with his Strong Family. They're modern characters who are clear callbacks to Doc Savage's mix of science, adventure, and team-building leadership. In 1975, Doc finally got a major motion picture, starring Ron Ely of Tarzan fame. This campy adaptation flopped hard. Its over-the-top, tongue-in-cheek tone didn't land well, and it was overshadowed by a little film that also premiered in 1975, called Jaws. It didn't have a chance at the box office. And it's a shame, because Ron Ely did a really good job portraying Doc Savage. It's just the script and the budget and everything just didn't work. In 2016, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson was attached to star in a new Doc Savage film directed by Shane Black. Unfortunately, legal issues around the character rights killed the project before it even got started. In 2020, Sony and Original Film were working on a Doc Savage TV series, but nothing has surfaced yet. Lately, The Rock's talked about an upcoming secret project. He posted something in October of 2024 on social media saying that he was going to team up with J.J. Abrams on a new mystery project along with writer Zach Penn. Johnson said his new project had been years in the making. Zach Penn also has comic book and superhero writing experience. So could this upcoming secret project be the Doc Savage film The Rock's been cooking? Maybe. We'll see. I first experienced Doc Savage as a young lad when one of my dad's Navy buddies handed me a dog-eared copy of one of the paperback reprints, The Man of Bronze. I read it from cover to cover and I was hooked. And I saw a lot of parallels there with the G.I. Joe adventure team, who I was really into at that time. You know, ex-military guys going on adventures, a lot of parallels. A little bit later, I found some other paperbacks in some used bookstores, and then I got my hands on some of those Curtis Doc Savage magazines, and I really love those. So I've been a fan since I was a kid, and you know, it even kind of sparked my interest in getting back into the G.I. Joe adventure team. So while some of the guys from the Axis of Awesome, shout out to those guys, I'll put a link in the description to some of their videos. They helped me to round up some of the reproduced adventure team figures that came out a couple years ago. And I got my hands on this guy who bears a striking resemblance to the Man of Bronze. So he's kind of been my Doc Savage stand-in in my version of the adventure team. So I did a video on him. I'll put a link to that as well if you're interested. And let's get back to Doc Savage. If you're ready to dive into the thrilling world of Doc Savage, kick things off with The Man of Bronze. It's the very first novel, and it lays down the epic groundwork for our hero and his crew, making it the ultimate launchpad for your adventures through the series. Next, Fortress of Solitude and The Devil Genghis, both from 1938. They're epic sequels that bring Doc's ultimate nemesis, John Sunlight, into the spotlight. You'll often find these thrilling tales bundled together in one volume. Convenient. Next, I'd recommend checking out The Lost Oasis from 1933 and Fear Key from 1934. Both of these tales are packed with globe-trotting escapades featuring Doc and his top-notch crew in all of their glory, including Pat. In Lost Oasis, you'll witness epic Zeppelin battles where the baddies meet their fate in style. Meanwhile, in Fear Key, you'll get served up an unforgettable moment when Doc Savage gets his butt kicked by a feisty foe who's over 100 years old, because the Fountain of Youth is in the mix. So buckle up and get ready for some seriously fun reading. If you're more of an audiophile, then I would suggest some of the audio adventures. Internet Archive, Retrovision Theater, has several Doc Savage stories from the old radio serials. These internet archives are free to enjoy, but you can donate to their preservation projects if you so desire. Get ready for a wild ride with the Variety Arts Radio Theater as they unleash thrilling episodes from the novel Fear Key. We're talking retro radio magic at its finest. You can check out the first episode, linked in the description, and let your adventures begin. I'd also recommend Radio Archives. They have several audiobooks of Golden Age characters, including the Doc. William Murray's Skull Island would probably be my first recommendation. It's a mind-blowing romp that plunges into the thrilling escapades of these two legendary titans. Doc Savage narrates a long-lost tale of his epic face-off with Kong, the eighth wonder of the world. Again, link in the description. If you prefer the sequential art we lovingly call comic books, then there's a ton to choose from. My recommendations start with the Curtis magazines, where they did Doc Savage from 75 to 77. Curtis magazines was Marvel Comics' secret weapon in the 1970s, rolling out black and white magazines so that they could avoid interference from the Comics Code Authority. This allowed Marvel to unleash some grown-up action and take their storytelling to a whole new level. A lot of these you can still find the originals at a decent price, or there have been some reprints, like the Doc Savage Archives. The Curtis magazine era came out in 2015. It collects the complete first 8 issues of the 1970s Doc Savage magazine in their entirety, complete with vintage advertisements, interviews, and a lot more. I would recommend that one if you can find it. Dark Horse would be another good choice. They did a 2-part miniseries called The Shadow and Doc Savage. The story is about monster men strutting their stuff all over Manhattan. Doc Savage is on the case, and he's convinced the Shadow is pulling the strings behind this chaos. But of course, the two pulp heroes end up joining forces to stop the monstrous mayhem. It's a good read, cool art. Dynamite Entertainment also did some really cool Doc Savage stuff, and they put together a graphic novel omnibus in 2015. It's a complete collection of their 8-issue maxi series of Doc Savage, and it features some extras, like an extra solo escapade of Doc Savage battling the sneaky Science Society. Plenty of eye candy too. There's a dazzling cover gallery showcasing the brilliance of one of my favorite artists, Alex Ross, and also John Cassaday. For years, Doc Savage has been missing in action in the world of high-end action figures, but that is about to change. The 112 Collective Doc Savage Deluxe Edition action figure by Mezco Toys is set to release in August of 2025, featuring his signature ripped shirt, his utility vest, a classic bronze skin tone, and hyper-detailed articulation. This figure is going to come with 4 interchangeable heads, including his 1930s and his 1960s looks, night vision goggles, infrared lantern, grapple hook, grenades, and of course, his signature super machine pistol. For longtime fans like myself, this is the Doc Savage figure we've been waiting for. Doc Savage may not have the same mainstream recognition as Superman or Batman, but his influence is undeniable. He was the blueprint for a lot of modern superheroes, blending brains, brawn, and adventure. So why does Doc Savage still matter? Well, Doc Savage was designed to be a hero of his time, but his values, skills, and leadership qualities still resonate today. He's a symbol of self-improvement. He's the blueprint for competence and courage. And he's proof that intelligence, discipline, and honor are timeless virtues. Even in a world with modern superheroes, tech bro billionaires, and political upheaval, we still long for a hero like Doc Savage, someone who's truly capable of rising to any challenge. Doc Savage isn't just a hero for his time, he's a hero for all time. And that's what makes him, in my opinion, the ultimate man for all seasons. Well, what do you think? Does Doc Savage fit the man for all seasons ideal? Is he an underrated superhero or an outdated relic? Should Doc Savage get another shot at the big screen? Maybe with The Rock, maybe with a different actor? Let's discuss in the comments. So, case closed? Not quite. On the next Largo's Lowdown, we're putting the LAIR philosophy to work. Our mission? To break down Doc Savage, the original Man of Bronze, and compare his ideas to real-world leadership. Was Doc Savage's moral code realistic, or was it just another impossible ideal? Can we find real-world parallels between Doc's oath and the current MAGA movement? Maybe. Join me for Largo's Lowdown, Doc Savage versus Donald Trump, the two men of bronze. Thanks for joining me on this retro Nuevo investigation. This was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed Doc Savage. If you've got a character you're dying to learn more about, drop your suggestions in the comment. And please, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, all that jazz, for more playful journeys into pop culture's past. If you enjoy our adventures, and I hope you do, consider supporting us on our Ko-fi page. Your support helps keep the creativity flowing. Until next time, keep exploring, keep investigating, and always strive for greatness, just like Doc Savage. As always, welcome to the LAIR. We'll see you soon.